Welcome to Andi and Mich.
The podcast where two sisters spill the tea on life from two totally different generational perspectives.
I'm Andi, the Gen X sis, seasoned, open-minded, and powered by strong coffee and even stronger opinions.
And I'm Mich, the millennial sis, curious, chaotic, and still trying to figure out if my life choices are written in the stars or just random decisions. Together we dive into everything from deep life lessons to pop culture, embarrassing stories, and the occasional existential crisis.
Expect laughter, a little chisme, and maybe even a surprise ghost story straight from the family archives. So grab your cafecito
And your emotional support snack.
and let's dive in. Welcome to the very first episode of Andi and Mich, two sisters, two generations, and way too many opinions on love, dating, and reality TV.
And today we're starting strong with a question that's both philosophical and pop culture gold. Is love blind?
We'll be talking about the Netflix show Love is Blind, but also digging into whether real life love can really overcome appearances, red flags, and those first date icks.
And can love truly overlook flaws? Or did we just rebrand passion as toxic behavior?
Let's get into it. The Love is Blind effect. So, before we get too far into the conversation, I guess we should talk about what is Love is Blind for listeners that might be unfamiliar with the show. There's a show on Netflix. It's in what season? How many
8.
seasons? 8 seasons of the
Yes.
show. And I think I saw the first season, maybe part of the second one, and then I was over it. But Mich made me watch the most recent season, season 8.
Yes.
And we got into this whole conversation about relationships and dating in modern day, and is love really blind? And we had some similar and some different opinions about it as we watched the show. And then we also watched another show called Naked Attraction, which, let's break it down. The two shows are very different.
They're the polar opposite of each
Polar
other.
opposite. So Love is Blind is a show
Where you find a match and fall in love, and they basically have to stay in these pods, right? And form an emotional connection, quote unquote. And then if the connection is strong enough, they agree to marry each other sight unseen. They try to do everything to help them harness that attraction and to really form a significant bond before they release them back into the wild of their existing lives.
and then they have to get to the end to decide if they actually do want to go through with it and get married or not.
Yes.
So that is Love is Blind. If you've never seen it, it's on Netflix. Knock yourself out. We also watched the British dating show Naked Attraction. And she was like, I don't even know what that is. I was like, you have to watch this because it's the complete opposite. You see somebody naked first before you hear their voice and before you even have a conversation with them or go out on a date with them. The person doing the choosing narrows it down to 2 people. And then once it's down to 2 people, then they show them their naked body.
Yes.
And then they pick one and they decide to go on a date clothed.
I do want to just also point out that the differentiation is that this is based on a social experiment, which is inspired by evolutionary science, where it's believed that in the past, people selected mates based solely on physical appearance because the strongest would produce the best warriors, and et cetera, et cetera.
And it's kind of cool because they do tell you facts about that.
Yes.
They do talk to you about dating facts, biological facts related to how we pick mates and partners, and what traits are most desirable versus other traits. And it is kind of interesting to hear that.
I was just so surprised to see so many naked parts. But then also, it just changes the way that you see bodies and the way that you understand attraction. It's also kind of interesting to watch the different cultural expectations of attraction, right? Because it's over the pond. So their expectations of physical attraction is what I would perceive completely different from here in the United States.
In watching both shows, I think they're different and you kind of have a different reaction to them. But once you get past the nakedness, you really start to think oh, okay, so which one is actually more effective and which way actually makes more sense? What surprised you most about watching Naked Attraction because you were so
I was so in shock. I was in shock. I really
came out
was.
of left field with that.
Well, because I thought, okay, yeah, they're gonna see like some part. No, they show it all, full frontal, show the whole nine, and that's before they're even allowed to speak. So that was really shocking at first. After watching like the first episode, which is 2 different people going through the process, you kind of get this sense of like, oh, this is weirdly revealing in a different way, right? Obviously, because you're completely nude, but it's a different form of vulnerability. And I think that when they go on the dates, it just changes the game.
Mm-hmm.
There's no weird pressure like, is this person attracted to me? Am I making the right moves? Am I putting them off? Like, there's so many different things that go through people's minds when they're dating, and this completely eliminates that. So I think when they go into the dating experience, there's like a natural flow to things.
So let's go back to Love is Blind for a moment.
Yeah.
Because this is the big one, right? That like everybody talks about it. It's been around for a while. It's a very popular dating show. What surprised you most about watching that show? I mean, like, just imagine yourself meeting someone through a wall and then deciding to marry them.
No way. Absolutely not. And this is not solely saying this from like a superficial vein.
Okay. You can say you're superficial.
This is not like that. It's just, I would never do that because I think love is a combo plate. It's not just one thing or another. And certain personality traits and characteristics and values can make you even more attractive in certain areas.
Yeah, I think there's so many different layers. Number one, no, I'm too old for that. But number two, if I was in my 20s, some of them are late 20s.
Some of them are like in their late
some of them
30s.
are. Okay, well, never mind. Sorry. I'm not trying to judge you, you know what I'm saying? But personally, it wouldn't be for me. Like the idea that they're trying to get at where you want to get to know as much as you can about somebody before without the other pressures on, so you really get to know the person. But in reality, I think there's so many layers to a relationship and finding a partnership that actually works that it's not just a one size fits all kind of deal. You have to take into account all of the factors that make a good relationship. And so, no, I need to see your credit score, see what you look like. I need to know who your people are. I need to know what kind of trauma you're coming with your family and what they're all about. You know what I mean? Like, and I need to see how you live.
Is your mattress on the floor?
That's the thing. Okay. So with all of that, do we believe that love is actually blind?
Initially, it can feel like it's blind. But if you want a long-lasting relationship that is built on actual love, then the answer is no.
No. You're saying no.
I'm saying initially, it can feel like you're capable of falling in love. It can feel really exciting, and it's more passion-driven than it is actually love-driven. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of.
So my answer is no.
So let's be clear. The millennial thinks love can be blind, but long term, you got to have your eyes wide open.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think love is blind at all. I just like, nope, not a thing. I think if you go into a relationship believing that love is blind, you're definitely headed for doom and destruction and lots of therapy. Because you're setting yourself up for failure, and you're probably moving through this relationship with false expectations. I can't say, yes, I'm going to marry someone sight unseen. I don't even buy a house sight unseen or adopt a dog. You know what I mean? Like, I need to see the dog. I need to, like, do we connect? Is there an energetic bond?
Okay, I get what you're saying. So some element of superficiality exists in everyone, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay,
of course.
cool.
I think naked attraction proved that, right? It's evolution.
I think both can exist, but it depends on how. Oh man, I was about to say delusional, but I didn't. Where they overtly romanticize things, idealism. It can exist. In actuality, when the cards are on the table and you're playing your hand, it doesn't always work out. Now, I'm not going to say it doesn't work out for everybody, because that's a pretty jaded way to look at things. And I also think there are some lucky individuals who truly believe that love is blind and that's how their story worked out, and it's really beautiful, but that's not the majority.
Think about love is blind. If we go deeper with it, maybe you meet someone in person.
Yeah.
But is love blind in the sense that you're willing to overlook red flags because you're really into them. Like,
Yeah.
have you ever
See,
done that? Have you ever overlooked somebody's red flags? I laugh because
is this even a question?
like, who hasn't, right? Like, raise your hand if you haven't.
I didn't even just overlook them. I held the flags for them.
You decorated the flags? No, for real. Yeah.
And I agree. I think that some of those old adages, like love is blind, it's very easy to confuse the idealism behind love is blind as just don't notice their flaws. Because if you do, you're going to be an inconvenience, or you're going to make it uncomfortable, or you are going to accept less than in the pursuit of love.
Yeah. I think when you're young too, which also it's kind of surprising that some of these contestants are older that go on these shows, because I think when you're young, when you're in your 20s, the idea of like what attraction is looks different than when you're in your 30s, 40s plus. Because when you're young, you just don't really know who you are fully, what you want. And I'll say even older, right? Like some of us are still, myself included, figuring out like who are we? Who am I? What do I want in life now as a woman in her 40s? But I can look back at my 20-year-old self and look at what was I attracted to then. And mind you, I've been in a relationship for 24 years. Love you, boo.
I want to just add something in there really quickly, is that these shows, although they're very, very like elaborate versions of, they are reminiscent of today's modern dating world. Like the concept that love is blind feels so far-fetched, but in reality, that's how people are meeting via apps.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, you are seeing them, but you're seeing visual representations of them that may or may not be skewed, may or may not be actual. So many of my friends tell me that they match with somebody at the moment where he shows up, and then they're like, oh my God, this is all a lie.
True, because technology plays a big part in it. Like I was talking to some of my younger colleagues and they asked me like how did I meet my partner? And I'm like, listen, I'm old. We didn't have all this stuff. We met at a doctor's office in real life. Like most of the people I dated when I was younger, I met through somebody or just doing normal everyday things.
I think that's the beauty of being millennials, that you entered into the dating world with that, but you also had MySpace and Facebook happening at the same time. So you were also able to reach people in Ireland.
Yeah,
you weren't
expand the dating pool.
But it also expanded the expectations.
I'm gonna throw another show in the mix that I really like. I was watching with mom. The Muslim
Yes.
Matchmaker. Those two ladies, they're amazing and really fun to watch.
They're so funny.
But I like their approach too, because they're all about in person, right? So they're connecting people based on common interests and what they think they're looking for. But they give them a script. So they have to have so many number of dates before they decide that the person is not a good match for them. Because I think they're really touching on this idea that you have to push past the superficial stuff that people put out to get to know someone on this deeper level, which takes time. And then they give them like all of these questions that are pretty deep, pretty fast, so that you can get to know if there's a real connection there. Either way, because I think you could look at someone and say, they're kind of cool, but maybe I'm not as physically attracted to them. But then you go through this process and get to know the deeper part, and that attraction can grow. Or you see someone and you're like, man, you're super fine. You know, you're really hot. Like, I don't even care how you keep your sock drawer.
But I was wait,
but then you talk to them and you're like, no, not so much.
Yeah, but when they're really hot like that, like, let's be real. Like, how many of us actually keep it together? That's the part that's kind of funny to me, is that, like, yeah, I mean, some people do keep it together. They're super smooth and they're highly confident people. They're just out there like in it to win it. They're just constantly dunking. I'm going to keep using metaphors that make no sense to most of you.
Welcome to your 30s. Let's get more into the psychology behind this. I think we mentioned earlier that like, can love make us overlook flaws when we think about rose-colored glasses?
I've excused so many things. Just so many things.
I think the rose-colored glasses, to me, I know I can see the flag, I can see the flaw, I can see the characteristic that maybe I'm not really connecting that well to, and I'm very aware of it. But because of other factors, I'm choosing to kind of like, oh, I'm just gonna put a pin in that.
The perks outweigh the flaws.
I don't know if that's love though.
That's the thing. It's not love. Yeah. I think that's like substitution. Let's just dub a new word in there. Substitute. It's like a substitute teacher. Like, they're okay. they're not it.
I think that's the other thing that gets me too, especially in all these conversations and watching these shows, is everybody's talking about love, love, love. But I'm like, is it love though? Like maybe one or two people I could see were showing signs of actual love for each other. But most of it was just attraction, connection. There's just this energy between people.
Yes. To go back to what I said about the dating apps and the way that modern society kind of looks at establishing connection, how it's kind of like an Amazon shop.
Today's dating pool and these younger generations have told me that you can't just go up to somebody at the supermarket and talk to them because then you're going to be considered a psychopath.
When people stop me and they're like, I totally know you from X, Y, and Z, I instantly just, and my body has a reaction, you know? I'm not in danger at all. They're just like, hey, it's you.
Proceeds to run out of the store without your basket.
That is just a biological reaction that happens now.
Yeah.
We're very instilled to have fear instead of this natural, oh, let's have a conversation and talk. I don't think it's the same for men. I might be wrong. Anxiety is reaching all of us at this point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're giving our perspectives from our side. We can only speak to our experiences.
Very true. So that leads us to our next question. Do societal expectations make us blind to reality in relationships? What do you think? I mean, I think we're raised on rom-coms. And of course, we think love should be dramatic. Yeah. And there's also this sold concept that we should win over the emotionally unavailable. That should be the goal.
Yeah. As you're talking about this, I'm thinking about that movie, He's Just Not That Into You.
Yes.
And the main character, she's trying to date and get out there and meet someone. And so but she's kind of a little needy about it. So she gets really into the real estate agent who's into the other character.
Gigi Phillips. Yes.
Yeah, Gigi. Mm-hmm. And then the real estate agent's really into this other girl who's beautiful, but she's really into this other guy who's totally unavailable and married. And it talks about like the complexities in that and how we believe these stories that we're told about how, love is so romantic and it doesn't matter and it will test you. And
if he mistreats you, it's because he likes you.
It's because he likes you. Like if you're a little kid and the person you like pushes you at the playground, that means they like you. Like it's already ingrained in your head very early on. And that also, if it's meant to be, it will happen. All the bullshit that we're told.
Can I just make a note? I think it's really funny that you were like, so like, no, love is not blind and that's bullshit. But you had the most meet cute.
I did. Yeah, but I still agree. Listen, I met my love and it was not blind.
It was not blind. I also want to say in watching Naked Attraction, one of the things that I noticed was that, again, from a solely superficial standpoint, if you were to pick out the best quote unquote looking people, you would be surprised at the level of chemistry that exists within the act of attraction in general.
Like good looking person with good looking person?
Not always. Sometimes you think that they're going to go fully superficial. Like there was this one guy on Naked Attraction, very good looking guy. And when he was picking between the two women, they were completely opposite of one another.
Yeah.
And he was talking about why he was potentially going to choose one or the other. And one of the things he said was, I also hate my calves. And she said she hates her calves too. So it was this really interesting thing. He found the beauty in the thing that he also disliked about himself in her. Well, when I think about superficiality, it's like very narrow-minded, mm-hmm. The concept of they want women that look like they're from magazines. But in reality, I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. It's an interesting concept of physical attraction because the way that we see other people is oftentimes the way that we also view parts of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. He connected with that they had something in common. He felt very vulnerable about. Mm-hmm. She also shared the same vulnerability. So there was a spark, right?
Yeah.
There with that connection that maybe he felt he couldn't maybe connect on a deeper level to the other one because he didn't find a spark, a vulnerability there. But does that make it more real then? If you're going that way, if you're starting purely physical, like Naked Attraction, does that make the dating process and finding love and a connection more real? than
Well,
going the other way in Love is Blind.
okay. From what I've seen in these 3 shows, since we're talking about the lovely matchmakers who are fantastic. And if you never checked out that show, you should definitely check out that show because they make really good points about connection and how to build lasting relationships with people. Based on all the information that I've acquired from watching these shows and from my educational background, there's an element of truth in the connection that they are finding within the person's physical body. It doesn't mean that they look like a model, right? It just means that something in the way that they present themselves is incredibly physically attractive. And so, therefore, there's a little bit more of a foundation for an honest component to the potential of it becoming a real relationship. Can you get that from an Instagram picture? Can you get that from a dating app picture? No.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's real. If you're naked,
Yeah.
you've never met these people before.
The other element of Naked and Afraid.
Different show.
They
Naked
are
Attraction.
element of Naked and Afraid exists in Naked Attraction for sure. I think in Naked Attraction, the other element is that they are in person. So they're naked and they're in person.
And you can see them. You're like sharing the same energetic space with them.
Love is Blind, where it's kind of emotional vulnerability cloak, one might say, because it removes the pressures of the physical attraction. I think the only thing that it really does allow for is open-mindedness, right? Because you're not going to completely ignore the fact that you could potentially build a relationship with someone based on the fact that they're 5'4". But also Naked Attraction has it as well because, this is the kicker. They reveal parts of their body in segments. So the first part that you see is their feet, their calves, their genitals. And then it goes up to their stomach and their shoulders, which, let me just say, shoulder game, real thing.
Real thing. More important than some of the other features. Interestingly enough, when you see the shoulders, it projects a certain level of confidence that the rest of the body doesn't because of the way that they're standing. So they're reading the body language of somebody.
Crazy.
And it did change.
Changes everything.
Some of the people who maybe would be considered stereotypically more attractive that didn't have a good posture kind of fell down the list very quickly.
You quickly
as opposed
just
to
are like,
some of the other ones
whoa.
who carried themselves with more confidence.
And then there's some people that are completely chiseled. They look like they just walked straight out of a TV ad for a underwear brand. And then you see their face and you're like, what?
Yeah. That's also interesting layer too, because you're going reverse. So you're seeing them naked and then you see how they present themselves to the world with their dress. And honestly, some of those really threw me off because I was like, wow, if I saw you in the world dressed like that, I would not be attracted to you.
Yeah. 100%.
Because it says something about your personality. It really changed. I was like layer upon layer upon layer upon layer.
It really does.
Obviously, I think it's a given. Naked Attraction type show, starting that way, much more physical, and then trying to build from there is more terrifying way to try and connect with somebody in some ways. It's very vulnerable. It's like your deepest fears and dislikes about yourself usually live in the body. And that's crazy to just like put it all out there like that. And some people, like, kudos to you, man, to have that level of confidence and comfort in yourself. Maybe someday I will have that. It's more terrifying to me because in Love is Blind, there is security in the fact that they're in pods and there's a wall between them and they can leave after the conversation. It's still very guarded.
It's a very guarded process. I also think too, there's a level of comfort that exists in Love is Blind that allows for dishonesty to be really prevalent. And although the other one is jarring, Naked Attraction, it doesn't allow for that to exist in the first couple minutes because body language is a primary way of how we communicate as human beings. So again, how you stand is a huge thing. When you see somebody, how your eyes look at them. I mean, we talk in layers, right? Not just with the words that we speak. And I think the problematic element, and could also be seen as the most interesting factor of Love is Blind because of all the los dramas, is that you could mislead people. You could be a fake.
You could be a fake. Yeah. Part of our conversation with it is like the psychology behind it. Do people use this idea of Love is Blind or wearing rose-colored glasses to cover up insecurities and eventually leading people to settle for less than what they know they deserve? because they're overlooking, but they're like, oh, well, it's romanticized based on how I was raised. This is an expectation of me in society. And I'm already 27 and I may never find somebody.
Yeah,
So now I'm just going to overlook everything to check a box. When we think about even some of these contestants that go on these shows, it's like, is it that they're just looking for something fun? Is it that they're feeling really insecure in the real dating world? It's like so rushed to like get married. Or is it that they feel so lonely because the world today is full of lonely people?
The amount of time and availability that we have as individuals as we progress into adulthood changes. That has a really high impact on your availability to meet organically. When I was in my 20s, I was fortunate enough to be at that cusp where things were just starting to change, aka I had a very normal at that time adolescent to young adulthood. So we were going out, we were having fun, we would meet up. It was much easier to meet people organically and to kind of meet a plethora of people so that you actually had an option in terms of selections and you're not just dating, friends, because that's a big no-no in my book. So I think in general, because society has changed and now the way that dating has changed to accommodate how society has changed, it has eliminated a lot of the beautiful aspects of getting to know people. There's a timeliness to it that didn't exist before.
Like a pressure.
Yeah. And it makes it so almost like a revolving door. Like they just want to get through it. Show me in the next 60 seconds that you're someone impressive enough for me to give you a week of my life. And I think that perspective and that pressure, it takes away from the experience of actually getting to know people without an expectation that you're going to get something out of it for the first week to 2 weeks.
Yeah. You watch the shows and you're like, man, that person has got problems or that person's toxic. But it's like there's these parts of us that we're responsible to work on, because if you don't feel whole and if you're making decisions from a place of like, oh, I'm so lonely and I have to hurry up, find a partner so that I can check a box because these are the expectations, and I'm just going to pick quickly without giving it time, then that's on you, because you're going to force something to work and you are going to keep those rose colored glasses on for a much longer period. Like this idea of your honeymoon phase with somebody can extend because you want to force it. Square peg, round hole.
You're not being accountable for your decisions and, wasted energy and time. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
I would say to anybody dating, even people our age, older than us, I think, depending on their reason behind it and where they are in their own self-work, is like date yourself first. If you're in your 20s, if you're in your 50s and you're trying to get out there and meet somebody, you need to know more about who you are and what you're looking for. And the only way you can figure that out is to date yourself first. Like you need to be your first true love so that then you can find a partner who's not like someone who you're trying to use to fill a gap in your life, and they complement you. You're walking side by side and you're lifting each other up, right? When you're coming from that place, you can find beautiful relationships, and it might be more than one. I don't know your life. I don't know what you want. But you know what I'm saying? Like you're open to better experiences in the dating world and finding love and finding real connection versus coming at it from this other place of sadness.
When you said sadness, I just imagine the actual emotion from the inside out.
Yeah, like
Joy's
sadness.
Like, come on.
Like, nobody loves me, right? And so now the second you get any kind of response or someone's interested in you, now you've got this like love is blind thing happening.
You don't want to pick someone from a place of deprivation. Yeah. Right? You don't want to pick someone from a place where you feel lack, because then you really are going to choose the worst case scenario is going to be the best case scenario for you, because you're going to see it and you're going to go, well, I got something there where there was nothing, and that feels better than nothing.
Yeah, because when you don't feel whole, anyone feels like a missing piece. So we talked a lot about this, and I feel like we could talk about this for days on end because it's not a simple topic. It's very complicated, and it also depends on the players, right? Like who's involved. But sometimes, sure, for some people, love can be blind. I'm not one of them. And hopefully, eventually, the lights come on if you go in that way and your rose-colored glasses come off. but I encourage people to just go in with your eyes wide open.
And hopefully you'll like what you see, or at least have enough self-love to walk away when you don't.
But the truth is, we all want to be seen and loved. That's real,
Mm.
flaws and all. Just maybe not through a wall on a reality TV show. No shade.
Unless it's a wall with cafecito on the other side, then we'll think about it.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us on our first official episode.
If you loved it or you just want to debate whether love is truly blind, leave us a review, follow the pod, and share with your favorite chismosa friend.
We'll be back next episode with even more laughter, life talk, and sisterly nonsense. Bye.
Bye.